Okay, guys, back. All right, so what I want to do is I want to talk to you really about what's going on in the house and the healing energy, and show you and just kind of describe to you what's been happening, because it's definitely been an evolution. And so basically, if you go into my house, there are orbs from the Bean family in every corner of the house, day and night, to be filmed, to be seen. So stationary orbs that are basically there to protect me and my family. This is what Ephus and family have told me, kind of watch over us. But then there are also spirit orbs flying through the house, different kind of other kinds of orbs, and then there's the Arcturian family, which I used to call the energy being family. The Arcturian family basically looks like a big orb, although they can go small, they can go big, and they have these like mini UFO, literally saucer-shaped orbs, but they look like mini UFOs. They have red, blue, green, and yellow lights on the bottom of them, and they basically can fly through the house. I know how crazy this sounds. So every night for the last 6 months, I would lie down on my couch, ready to go to bed, turn the lights off, totally awake, and what I do is this, is I'll put my hands out like that, and I'll go, okay, beautiful being family and all being families, time to send and receive love. And I would basically do this for the first 5 months, and then I would say, okay, and then you would see all of a sudden, you'd see like orbs flying all around me, and this like smoke mist would be like, and like kind of fly around me. And then you'd see one of these sort of like mini UFO orbs fly above my head, inside the house, above me, and you'd see coming down from it would be like 5 or 6 shafts of white light, but misty white light that would go into my palm, like literally go into my palm like that. And then all of a sudden, you'd start to see in my palm little silver speckles, sparkles, like all over my palms, start to like speckle all over my palms, right? And then I would say, okay, Arcturian family, or back then I would say energy being family, I'd say, okay, can you do a golden orb? Can you do a blue orb? How about do a golden orb? And then all of a sudden you'd literally see in my palm these shafts of white light, these silver speckles, and then all of a sudden sparks of golden, like in an orb, would start to kind of like pop, like the shape of it, like a little bit here, a little bit there, and it would slowly start to manifest in my hand, a golden orb. And I would look at that, and the entire time I'm looking at that, they do this pulsing thing that happens from the orb that basically puts you out, like unconscious. Like basically you're totally awake and you're staring at the orb, you know, like I'm not going to fall asleep, I'm not going to fall asleep. It does the pulse, and it's seamless, and like you don't even know it, but your eyes are closed and you're kind of drifting off to sleep. And I would catch myself and I'd pull myself out of it, and there would be the golden orb, and we'd sort of do this thing. It would last for 5 or 10 minutes every night, and then basically what would happen is the golden orb would sort of like drift up from my hand and then kind of go away, and then basically I would start to practice the healing energy. And so let me just tell you kind of what else has continued. So that went on for 5 or 6 months, me doing that, and then after it would drift away, and then I would see all the other orbs around me, and I would touch them, and they would basically look like see-through orbs, and inside would be a blue pulsing energy, and they would have like red, green, yellow, purple, like electricity energies inside the orb that would be like pulsing, you know, and they would kind of be see-through, and they would float around me, and basically that kind of thing. Now, also, all around the circumference of the couch where I'm at, and the entire living room, would basically be this black, it would be like brown and white and black energy that was pulsing, that was a barrier, that looked kind of like a barrier, you know, like this wide, maybe this tall, this wide, and it would be basically encircling me on the couch and the living room. My wife would be next to me sleeping, my kitty would be on the edge, and it would be this kind of thing, barrier, that I noticed. One day, you know, after the golden orb sort of drifts away, I kind of moved my hand to the barrier just to see what it was, because I didn't know what it was. And when I stuck my hand into the barrier, I swear to God, too, I'm looking at my hand, so half of my fingers are in the barrier, half of my hand is out. My pinky literally vanishes. So I'm looking at half of my pinky there. I can feel my hand, but the other half of my pinky is completely invisible. Totally freaked me out. And I like pulled my hand back, and it was just the most surreal thing, and I didn't know what it was. And then this kept repeating over months. I would basically do the same thing, and I eventually came to realize that the barrier, that was a barrier, and that basically they would create a safe zone for them to be, and it was something having to do with time and space, a cloaking thing. And basically my hand was there. It was not really disappearing, but when I would stick my fingers in the cloaking energy, half of my finger or half of my hand would disappear. It was the weirdest thing. So this has continued every single night, like clockwork. When I go to bed, I lay down, we repeat this process. And so basically what's happened is that went on for months, and then it started to evolve. So then what would happen is, maybe like 2 months ago, I'm doing this, all the orbs are flying around me, the UFO orb comes over my head, the shafts of light come down into my palms, I see the sparkles, and I say, okay, can you do a blue orb or a golden orb? Like the same thing. But this day, they did something different. This day, a black orb appears in my hand. And for some reason, I cupped my hands, so there was like an opening, but I cupped my hands, and the black orb basically is there, totally solid, starts pulsing and pulsing. And what happens is this black energy starts coming out of the orb that looks like mist, but it's also got a material slickness to it. It's very soft and slick, like a velvety feeling to it. This black energy this orb is in my hand, it's pulsing, this black energy is bleeding out of the orb onto my fingers, slowly turning my fingers black, turning my hands black, my arms black. And it's not just stationary black color, it's actually alive. This blackness is actually like separates, and so there's little pieces of blackness running all up and down my arms and fingers, slowly turning my hands black and turning the inside of my cupped hands totally black. And then inside that total blackness of my cupped hands, you start to see these little crystals of silver light in my hands that are some kind of something, energy. And so what started is basically I would do this, cup my hands, the orb would turn black, pulsing energy would come out, my hands would get totally black, the inside of my palms would be totally black, and then this mist that this orb was putting out, this black energy, it filled my cupped hands and created a prism in a way where there was like almost like a screen of mist at the opening of my palms. And then what started to happen a couple months ago, when this all changed, is that a blue orb would fly down behind my cupped hands, and it would start to send blue energy beams into the back of my cupped hands, and some red energy. And what you would see in my cupped hands would be start to see images. They started to show me images of places, images of faces, images of craft. And so I would be looking at my cupped hands with all of this going on, this screen that's now sort of appeared in the mist in my cupped hands, because my hands are totally black with like silver like light sparkles that I think emanate pictures to some degree. And then this blue orb behind me would be sending, almost like a film camera sends a picture to a movie screen, that like exact thing was going down. And so this started going on every single night, like an advancement of what was happening. And so they started showing me a line of maybe 5 or 6 or 7 faces. And I realized what they were showing me, because one of the faces I had seen that was Ephes. Because one of the videos that I did on YouTube of my hand showing like energy coming off my fingers, in the background you see this clear face in mist in our backyard where I am now. And I recognized that as Ephes, and he told me that was Ephes. So basically in this deal, when I start to see these faces, I recognize one of them as Ephes. And so then it dawned on me, they're showing me basically who they are, their faces, and they're doing like a slow matriculation of teaching me about who they are, showing me, because what they then later told me is they don't want to come down and just appear to me totally formed, because it would freak me out and potentially hurt me, etc. Okay, so I'm going to stop now, and then I'm going to make a part 3. All right, love you guys. Bye.